Greetings sailors, welcome back to World of Warships, and today I've got some Admiral hipster action for you courtesy of Ace Pilot 666, who as you can see is in a platoon with very good matchmaking. Well, a division, I should get the terminology right I suppose. So I don't think I've actually featured this since I did my German cruiser previews, and that's been a while now. The German cruiser line has been in the game since, well, last year, and they're generally regarded as being pretty decent, at least once you get past tier 4, which is where I'm at the moment. I finally started on the German cruisers myself, and I'm slowly grinding through the Karlsruhe. Not that it's a lot of XP to get through it, it's just summoning the will to play it is, yeah, it's not a very good ship. It's actually half decent when it's top tier. But the problem is when you are in tier 5 or tier 6 games, you are just so horribly outranged by pretty much everything that most of my experience has been get close enough to the enemy to actually try and fire off some shots and then die. Now, you can try and use islands to mitigate that somewhat, get a bit closer, but even so, a lot of stuff can just shoot back at you, and at least if it's players that know what they're doing, they can mitigate that cover. However, range is certainly not an issue with the Hipper here. It's got the best range of all of the regular tier 8 cruisers. It's second only to the Kutuzov, which, as you are probably aware, has a really quite exceptional... is it 19.3 kilometers? It's just over 19 kilometers anyway. This is closer to 18. It's something like 17.7 kilometers. And the next best after that is the Chapayev with, I think, 17.3, but I'm just going by memory there. It's also got, because it's a German cruiser, very nice AP shells. They do the most damage of all of the 8-inch gunned cruisers at tier 8, at least if you get citadel damage, obviously. And you're going to see some citadels in this game, believe me. But the downside is it doesn't have particularly good HE shells, and you're not going to see Ace Pilot use a lot of HE shells in this one. It's not only that they don't do a lot of damage in comparison to other 8-inch HE shells, it's also that the fire chance is quite low as well. So there we go, first damage, and that was a citadel alongside 3 other hits for something like 8.5k damage. And the broadside of Kutuzov, well, it's not got a lot of armour, so these shells look like they're going to find their mark, and that guy's really not going very fast at all. The shells have also got pretty good penetration and pretty good accuracy, but when you're shooting at the broadside of a Kutuzov, you could have pretty terrible penetration and still do damage as long as you could get the hit. I'm not quite sure why that guy was just crawling along, but anyway, there's a first blood and a dangerous enemy out of the equation. Now that range means that he could just sit at the back, not quite as far back as, say, his compatriot in the North Carolina, but it means he can comfortably outrange most of the cruisers he's going to meet, even some of the low-tier battleships potentially. I think without any range mods he could outrange the Colorado, or maybe have something like an equal range, but well, they need the cap circles, so actually he's almost leading the charge here. There is a Cleveland next to him and a lot of ships behind him, so he's got fire support potentially. But even so, being out in front in a cruiser, even in a top tier situation like this, it's not the most comfortable place to be. So you can see there, even with the Colorado angling very steeply, well, he's just firing into the superstructure in that case, but he's just sticking with the AP shells. For a lot of cruisers, you might want to go with HE, and clearly there are people firing HE at him. Well, I would guess the Cleveland is, if nothing else. But no, he sticks with AP all the way and actually gets some quite nice salvos out of that. Then they spot one of the enemy team's 2 carriers, the Hiryu. And that was a bit unlucky actually, a single overpen for 590 damage or whatever it was. But the guy's turning broadside, so this should be a bit nicer, we're about to see. No citadels, but that was about 8k damage, not bad. I've no idea why that Hiryu was so close to the C cap point, but as it's the enemy's top tier carrier, I mean, I know it's tier 7, but the other carrier is a tier 6, I think. Yeah, it's an Independence. I've got no clue. He was way too far forward, and he's been punished for it. So, although, just if you were to glance at the minimap and not pay attention to the numbers of ships and where they are, you'd think, this team has not started off so well. They've only got 1 cap circle on the down on points. Well, it's not actually that much of a gap. It really isn't, and the fact that they've taken out the Hiryu already does actually put things a bit in their favour. It means their air superiority is now much more assured than it was before. This Colorado also looks like he's just doing his best to run away for dear life, but I can tell you now, I mean, I've got the Colorado, I've played the thing. Running away is usually not an option. If you get into this kind of situation, you're just not fast enough. If you ever have to hightail it from a group of cruisers or destroyers, usually it means you're just going to die. If it's a situation like this where you're outnumbered, you just can't get away. You can't. You don't have the speed. They will just wear you down. Now, Ace Pilot has spotted, or somebody spotted, that other Independence, and it might be the Cleveland actually. He's slightly further forward, but either way, that's a very attractive target because the Colorado's just about to go down. Somebody else actually got the kill there, so that's fine. So he is now trying to get some more damage. Now, it'd be nice if we could get some more kills as well. It's damage that counts more, or rather, it's the percentage of damage done. And this is a thing I point out from time to time. It's that mechanic that makes destroyers worth more than battleships, for instance, because it's the amount of, or the percentage of an enemy's health that you've taken off that counts towards XP and credits, as opposed to the actual absolute figure. But of course, there's always that thing in the brain of, well, we like nice big numbers. So sometimes those are the eye-catching replays, but it is perfectly possible to get high XP, high credit games for relatively little damage if the targets you're shooting at are destroyers. I actually had a game a couple of days ago, I think, in my relatively newly bought Hatsuharu where I killed one higher tier enemy destroyer and capped one cap circle. That was enough to put me on the second place on the team, despite being literally the only damage I did in the entire game. I might have had another couple of hundred from the guns, but it was not that much to speak of. But anyway, yes, that was still enough to get me something like 1700 base XP and be in second place, just from having killed a higher tier destroyer. So it's that percentage that matters, and the tiering matters as well, because obviously, like World of Tanks, higher tiers will give you more XP. So, more citadels, although there's a lot of torpedoes in the water, so they can be confident that there is more than just that Fubuki. And unfortunately, he takes one in the bow. Although, having said that, it is actually just the Fubuki. I've just glanced at the minimap and seen that the other two are in the A cap circle. Now, his team, basically, they seem to congregate mostly in the north, and now they're just slowly sweeping down to the southwest point of the map. And the enemy team really don't seem to be able to effectively stop them. They've now got 2 cap circles. They're still down on points because the enemy team had that early lead on victory points. But they're just getting taken apart at this point. They really are. So he's trying to finish off that Indy, which will be worth as much as a battleship in terms of points. You can also see that New Mexico is getting awfully close. Yeah, he's AFK. He has in fact been AFK the entire game. And Ace Pilot's actually almost close enough to release torpedoes. He's only got about another 2 kilometers to go. And you can see he has been, which is probably the sensible thing, concentrating on the ships that are firing back at him rather than just farming the AFK ship, which is usually the sensible thing to do. Sometimes you'll see people there'll be an AFK ship or whatever, or somebody that's crashed into well, their client's crashed or they've ploughed into an island, and they'll immediately why did I even say crashed, ploughed into? I don't know, but like their client's crashed and they're not moving is my point, and they will switch focus from the stuff that's actually actively firing back at them to the thing that is no threat, which doesn't particularly make sense to me, but anyway. So that Fubuki's still trying to drop torpedoes on him, but he's made a torpedo drop of his own. And because this guy is basically AFK, once those torpedoes go in, he's going to flood. And that should be enough to get the kill, because all of his allies behind him that were pushing down, a lot of them have been whittled away. Although he didn't have that many, but his own division mates are actually over on the other side, pressing down onto A from the north. And there we go, he gets the kill. So that's also bought him a Confederate and a high caliber to go with his first blood, which is a nice collection of medals. Actually, no, it hasn't brought him the kill. It was just those were the medals, and I got confused because a thing popped up on the screen, and I thought that means he's got the kill. But now he's got the kill. There we go. I can pay attention to things. So that was 4 kills. 1 more, and he can get a Kraken unleashed. And he clearly wants a Kraken unleashed, because you'll see just in the next final dying 2 minutes or so of this game, he is going to be desperately trying to get that last kill, and he admits himself in the email he said that he could have had it, except he had a bit of a derp. Because you see, the Hipper has got 2 launchers per side, and he only ever, in the entirety of this battle, when he does use his torpedoes, uses 1. Now against the Colorado it didn't matter, because it was the flooding damage that, not Colorado, New Mexico, it was the flooding damage that finished him off. But this Tirpitz, well, he's getting awfully close to this guy. And he's actually got to be worried about torpedoes from this guy as well. Except the Tirpitz drops basically at maximum range. So the torpedoes are absolutely not going to be a threat. They get spotted by the dive bombers. However, of course, there's still those main batteries to worry about. And they've already taken off a big chunk of his health. Now, even though he's really quite close, and the replay was starting to derp it a bit in terms of frame rate, unfortunately, we are literally in the last, less than the last minute. Even though he's really quite close and taking a lot of fire from the Tirpitz, he's still trying to take out that Farragut. He wants this Kraken unleashed. Clearly, that guy's so low health. He just needs a couple of hits. And, well, he really was backing the wrong horse there, because if he'd put out both sets of torpedoes, he could have killed the Tirpitz, and instead he's going to die to the Tirpitz. He's got 2 fires going. Tirpitz finishes him off with main batteries, and he does not get a Kraken unleashed, unfortunately. And he could have had one, and it would have been a very nice medal to round off this very nice match with, but alas, it was not to be. And it was entirely his own derp. He did admit that. So yeah, you've got 2 torpedoes in this thing. So 2 torpedo launchers rather. It does pay to remember that, apparently. So he sinks slowly beneath the waves, but that Tirpitz is the last ship. So the moment he dies, that's it. Game 1. And although I've only got the 1 score screen to show you, he was using the mod which puts the cumulative damage at the end plate there. So 188,000 damage with quite a healthy profit, and what was it, a Confederate, a high caliber, and a first blood. So not bad at all. And I'm kind of hoping that although the German cruiser line does have a couple of rough spots, getting past tier 4 is proving to be one of them, and the tier 7 doesn't have such a good reputation either, the York. Still, the tiers 8 to 10 seem like they will quite possibly be worth it. So hopefully you have enjoyed this bit of hipster action, and if you have, you can hit that like button, you can leave any comments below, you can sub to my channel if you want already, and as always, stay tuned for more.